Hello, boys and girls and parents. How are you doing? Happy New Year! I haven't been reading for a few weeks. I was under the weather, had a little cold. How was your Christmas and New Year? I hope you had a great time. Well, today I'm going to read your story. It's about Dr. Martin Luther King. This man had a dream that was heard across the nation. That's what we're going to read about today. This book is written by Bond Michelle Nelson, illustrated by Sally Ryan Comport. Let's get started. Everybody has dreams. Some we share with family and friends, some we hold in our hearts. On August 28th, 1963, one man's dream was heard across the nation. When the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a boy growing up in Georgia, he could not have imagined a day like this. Look at the crowd on this day. Very loud crowd. People travel from all over the country to Washington, D.C. They rode buses, trains, airplanes, and cars. Some walked over 240 miles from Brooklyn, New York. One man rode 698 miles from Chicago on skates. It took him 10 days. This man right here on roller skates. Over 250,000 people gathered in the nation's capital. Singers, authors, actors, government officials, and other famous people attended. But ordinary citizens were the real stars of the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. People packed the National Mall from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial, young and old of every color, side by side, hand in hand. Many wore their Sunday's best. They carried signs. They sang, I woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom. We shall overcome someday. That's how they sung in them days. Black people fought for many years for the right to be heard with respect. In the 1950s and 60s, Black Americans organized and fought extra hard. Their fight was called the Civil Rights Movement. Martin and others held peaceful protests against laws that kept Black people and white people apart. They fought for the right to attend the same schools and eat at the same restaurants. Ruby Bridges right there. They fought to use the same bathrooms, to drink from the same water fountains. They fought to sit on any empty bus seat and to have the same chance at a job. There's Rosa Parks. I'll be reading about her in a few weeks too. They fought for the right to vote. The protesters won some battles, and new laws made things better. But Black people were still treated unfairly. In 1963, the activists A. Philip Randolph and Bayard Rustin and other civil rights leaders decided to take the fight to the nation's center of power, Washington, D.C. There's John F. Kennedy right there. The march organizers wanted to show President John F. Kennedy, Congress, and all other Americans how many people believe in this cause. The Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal. The marchers wanted Congress to make sure everyone was treated that way. United they walked together. Some were silent, determined, intent, but yet hopeful. Most chanted and sang, beaming joyful, their hearts light. The marchers crowded the malls, reflecting pool. Some took off their shoes and socks to soothe their feet in the cool water. Others climbed trees for a better view. Lucky children perched high on their parents' shoulders. They looked toward the statue of Abraham Lincoln. It had been 100 years since President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which helped free the slaves. Why were Black Americans not yet free? Abraham Lincoln. President Kennedy and other officials worried that marchers might become violent. Thousands of police and soldiers were called out to keep them in order. There was no need. The March on Washington was the largest human rights rally in American history, and there was no trouble. Martin had one of the strongest voices for civil rights. He had been jailed for standing up for Black people. His house was firebombed by people who wanted him to stop, but he did not scare easily. Oh, pages sticking together. Martin was a minister. He had faith, and wow, could he preach! When Martin spoke, it was as if he could read the minds of people and feel what was in their hearts. Other leaders gave inspiring speeches also at the march. But Martin's words on that hot August day made history. In his speech, Martin said, Black people were tired of waiting for their rights. He said, now is the time for justice. Now is the time for brotherhood. He said, no one is free until everyone is free. Martin spoke forcefully with grace and dignity. His friend Mahalia Jackson, the gospel singer, called out, tell them about the dream, Martin. He put aside his written words. Enjoying the story? I have a dream, Martin said, that little Black boys and girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. Martin had a dream that his children will live in a country where they would not be judged by their skin color, but by the content of their character. Martin had a dream that when children sang, My country, this of thee, sweet land of liberty, the words rang true for everyone. He spoke of faith and truth, love and hope. Aw, like girls and boys all together, singing together. That's so lovely. Finally, Martin said, his voice like thunder, "Let freedom reign from every hill and every mountainside, from every state and every city. Let freedom reign. And if we do, people of all colors and all faiths will join hands and sing, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last." Marchers, they cheered and they cheered and they cried, wept tears of pride and joy and hope. They would never forget this day. Many who had been strangers before the march were forever bonded by that moment in time. People all over the country watched the march on television, or they listened on the radio. They felt the spirit of the day too. They were reminded that all people are meant to be free. Martin's dream wasn't his alone. It was a dream millions of Americans shared. Now his dream lives forever in the hearts and minds of people everywhere, and the march for freedom goes on. Here's a little note from the author's note. 10 months later, after the speech on July 2nd, 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law. It is unclear whether the March on Washington brought about the passing of this bill, but it was a step forward in the civil rights movement in America. I hope you enjoyed this story. I sure did. Dr. Martin Luther King was a beautiful man, nonviolent, and he fought for freedom. Till next time, boys and girls, enjoy. Good night.